She works at the downtown lunch counter, where she gives free pie slices to all the single men, because she still has ambition. Dolores is a spinster who works night shift at the mill, packaging paper napkins and throwaway menus for the restaurant business. When Dolly was 12, a boy tried to teach her the game of golf and accidentally smacked her in the jaw with the club, so hard that it misaligned her jaw for good. That's why Dolly's mouth has a turned-down look, like Our Lady of Perpetual Sorrow. The sisters smoke Chesterfields. They are Roman Catholic. They are raising Florence's daughter, Margaret, in the Old Testament traditions in which they themselves were raised, and the girl takes their teachings to heart. By the time she is 4, she can see angels in the blades of grass and on the backs of silver-plate spoons. Now imagine the next-door neighbor, Ruby Bickford. Delicate, tragic, doomed. Dolly calls Ruby the divorcee. Florence calls Ruby my dearest friend. Ruby smokes Salems. She loves to garden. She loves her tulips. Ruby's ex-husband owns the only hardware store in town. When Ruby needs a new pair of garden gloves, she travels 30 miles south by bus to avoid running into the bastard, and buys her gloves at the next closest hardware store, owned by a man named Grubb. Lately, Ruby has been feeling overwhelmed by life. Everyone says she is a drinker, but they're wrong. It's just her nerves. She always meant to be a dancer. As for Ruby's daughter, Agnes, that girl's hair is the color of curdled milk. For such a small girl, she moves boldly, stomping her feet along like a steadfast tin soldier. Even the thought of Agnes Bickford is like lightning. Not beautiful. No one would ever call Agnes beautiful. She is more like an arrow, aimed in a magnificent direction. And as for Margaret, the one who is writing this confession, a dozen years after the day of the schoolyard flood, her hair is no particular color. She moves like a blind bear, knocking into things and lumbering off in unlikely directions. Margaret can never decide if the shapes moving toward her are people, or angels, or dogs, or deer, or wolves. But she has other skills. By the age of 4, she has taught herself to read, a skill that came to her after hours spent sitting in her Aunt Dolly's lap, while Dolly read aloud from the Confession of St. Patrick and moved her finger across the page. Margaret's preferred reading isn't hagiographical, though. It's a compendium of fairy tales, the size and weight of an unabridged dictionary. Dolly hauled that book home from a tag sale one day. She keeps it alongside the cookbooks in the kitchen. Margaret likes to sit under the table with the book in her lap. She turns the pages while supper boils on the stove. Margaret's mother thinks the girl is looking at the pictures, but what Margaret likes even better than the pictures are the happy endings. After the day of the schoolyard flood, Margaret begins to write happy endings of her own. Her made-up endings help her forget that singular moment in her life when everything went so wrong. No one teaches Margaret how to write. Why should they? When she is 4 years old and can't even recite the alphabet correctly. And so she writes her stories down in her own made-up secret ciphers. She keeps her stories hidden in a shoebox under her bed, along with her clothespin family. And if Margaret ever told her mother she could read and write and make up stories and write them down in an alphabet she invented on her own, then her mother would have slapped her for lying. Because her girl is slow and can barely speak, and when she does speak, it's nothing but random words strung out like unmatched beads on a wire. Testify. Glorious. Stuttering. Poor dear has crept out of her corner. She's standing so close to me that I can feel her boggy breath on the back of my neck. She nips at my hair. Her teeth are yellow nubs of teeth with bits of green between. Stop stalling. It's time to confess what you did on the day of the schoolyard.